In this part of the course, we will create a terrain object and use terrain tools to start shaping out our terrain. So to create a terrain, the first thing you want to do is go to the hierarchy, right click, go to 3D object and click terrain. You can see this gives us a terrain both in our hierarchy and our game scene, a pretty huge terrain. So let's make it a bit easier to work with. The first one we're going to do is in the inspector, you see these different tabs. On the right hand side, you have terrain settings. If you go to terrain settings, scroll down a bit, you see the mesh resolution, which contains the width and the length of our terrain. We can start by setting this to 300 by 300. And you can see now moving around the terrain, even though I'm holding down left shift, it goes pretty slow. So just a quick tip, if you hold down the left mouse button and use your scroll wheel, then you can increase or decrease the speed of how fast you're moving around your scene. So I will just set mine to 2, and this will allow me to move around much faster around our level. Now let's get into actually shaping our terrain. If you go to this tab called Paint Terrain, you can see you have this drop-down menu, which contains stuff like set height and raise or lower terrain, which are the two I will focus on in this video. We will save paint texture for another time, but for now, click on raise or lower terrain. You can see we have a brush here, and you can switch between these different brushes by using the brushes menu in the inspector. You can increase or decrease the size of your brush, and the opacity slider here controls how much the terrain will actually raise or lower when you paint on it. So just to set us off, if we select a brush here, you can see here, if I hold down my left mouse button, this will start painting the terrain. And if I want it raised a bit more, then I can paint the terrain where I've already painted to make it larger. Using this tool, you can make structures look a bit more like mountains. If, for instance, I were to pick another brush, just try this instead. This might give us that bit more mountainy feel. And if you want to lower the terrain back down, you can hold down left shift and again press the left mouse button. If you want to lower the terrain a bit faster, you can just increase the opacity and the brush size. Another way to paint your terrain, if you want a bit more control of how high it will go, you can go to set height, where you can set a height value in the inspector. Let's just set it to 20 for now. And you can see if I now paint on my terrain, it will be the exact same height everywhere I paint. But as you also might have noticed, if we try to lower this terrain back down by holding down left shift and painting using the mouse button, this won't do anything. That is because the height is set to a certain value. So to decrease that, you need to set it back down to 0. You can also use this to create like ditches or gullies in your game scene, which brings me to the next part about terrain tools. If we go back to the raise or lower terrain tab, you can see if I wanted to create a ditch or a gully here, I will hold down left shift, use my left mouse button, but nothing actually happens. There is, however, a workaround to enable you to do this. If we go to set height, you can set the height of your terrain to 100 and then click flatten tile. This will raise your terrain by 100 units. And then you can go into the position in the inspector and set it to -100. This will bring it back down to its original position. And now if we raise or lower terrain, hold down left shift, and you can see we are actually allowed to make these gullies. This is a bit of a hanky workaround, but in our use case, this works just fine. And now comes your challenge for this video. Create your starting world and play around with the terrain tools, different brushes, tabs, and sliders to get a bit more familiar with the terrain tools. For now, hold off on texturing the terrain, as we will save that for a later point in this course. So you can go ahead and pause the video now, give it a good go, and come back to the video when you finish creating your starting world. Okay, welcome back. Well, I will just start out by creating a small quick terrain here. I would like some mountains on the edges of our terrain so that the player can see that the game scene is actually empty behind. So I'll just select one of these more eroded brushes, set my brush size, go down on the opacity a bit, and I'll work my way around the whole of the level like this. Now that we've got the edges of our level, I will actually leave it like this for now and wait by shaping it further till we start texturing. And that is just what we will do in the next video. But until then, thank you for watching, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.